Cedar Falls has a long history of successfully restoring and maintaining historic buildings throughout the community. From the Ice House Museum to downtown Main Street, this community bands together to preserve the rich history. The original Cedar Falls Post Office is the most current example of this. Built in the early 20th century, the Cedar Falls Post Office was the first federal building in Black Hawk County. Cedar Falls had the first letter carrier in the state of Iowa. They also had the first postmaster in Black Hawk County. The building was used as a Cedar Falls Post Office until 1961, when it was then given to the city, becoming the city annex and later the alternative high school. It sat empty for about 4 years before the idea of demolition was brought to the city council.
They voted 4-3 on that for demolition, but purely for financial reasons. They did not see where it was worth the money. And when you look at the building at that current time, it had a leaky roof. It had mold in the building. There was asbestos that had to be removed.
A group of citizens, including Friends of Historic Cedar Falls, came forward at that time to try and save the building.
In other words, just instead of just saying let's demolish, they wanted to go back in and see structurally whether it could be saved, historically what attributes it had and such.
An architect came in from the State Historical Preservation Office and did a study on the building, and it was determined that the old post office was eligible to be on the National Registry of Historic Places. This would allow the building to qualify for state and federal tax credits. Around that time, the Cedar Falls Development Group, a for-profit LLC, was formed.
Its mission is to try to not only preserve or restore a historic building, but also to be able to do that in a way that it can keep rental amounts in Cedar Falls down to an acceptable level. So that was part of that purpose of the development group doing the building, is to repurpose that into retail space.
The Cedar Falls Development Group signed a 39-year lease with the city in March of 2014 and began the process of renovating this historic building.
We unlocked the doors and found really quite a mess. The winter was very harsh in the 2013-2014 winter. It had frozen the roof drain pipes, so all the snow melt in March was draining into the building, really saturating the building. So we had to take some emergency steps to repair those roof drains, and then the process began of a remediation, which was asbestos and mold removal. And to do that, all the stud walls and drywall that the city had put in to make office space and acoustical ceilings, all of that was torn out and brought back to the original ceiling heights that were constructed in 1917, 1918.
Once everything was torn out, volunteers from the development group came together to help in restoring the building to its former glory.
We have a little over 600 volunteer hours that are logged in for this project. That is just people cleaning things up, scraping, painting, staining, varnishing, and just working throughout the building with the downstairs and the upstairs. So.
The entire renovation cost the Cedar Falls Development Group about $490,000. Around $165,000 came from the group, while the rest was provided via a loan. They procured a Main Street Iowa Challenge grant of $75,000 thanks to help from Community Main Street. When you enter the old post office today, you'll still be able to notice the historic features like the 2 teller stations with brass windows, vaults, a trestle, marble floors, and original woodwork.
One of our members found a set of post office boxes in Illinois, and we got a good price on that, so they ran over and picked them up and brought them back, and that's part of our display feature in the front of the building.
Businesses from all over Iowa applied to rent out the post office for their business. In the end, Bike Tech, an already established Main Street business in Cedar Falls, was chosen to move in.
And they're doing a nice job of displaying their business within the historic features of the building.
The original Cedar Falls Post Office building was the first project the Cedar Falls Development Group took on, but it will not be the last. This group continues to search for historical buildings in the area to save and repurpose for local business. Thanks to the Cedar Falls Development Group and various other groups and individuals, the post office building was saved and will be used for future generations. Congratulations to the Cedar Falls Development Group for their work to preserve the historic post office building. Winners of the 2015 Redevelopment Award.